Crystalline Conflict is a PvP mode that was introduced in patch 6.1 way back in April 2022. It replaced the Feast that was the main competitive PvP mode in Final Fantasy XIV for almost 6 years. The main concept of the game mode is to push the crystal payload by standing on top of the crystal. If both opposing teams have members standing on top of it, the crystal will stop moving. That's where you have to battle the other team. The ones that is able to push the crystal towards the enemy side first wins the game. This change was huge and a lot of people was really digging it at the time, competing who can reach the highest rank on the leaderboard. Square Enix was also trying to push the competitive PvP scene, bringing 22.5k prize pool to the table for the 2023 Regional Championship in different regions that was held during the 2023 FanFest. The developer's intention with this game mode is very clear, to push this game's PvP into competitive professional scene like, for example, WoW. But as the time goes, the excitement grew dim even though it's much more polished right now compared to when it was released, with PvP actions constantly being rebalanced, more maps added, and mechanics being improved. So what actually is wrong with Crystalline Conflict? I was one of the excited ones back in 2022 to try out Crystalline Conflict. I was always a competitive gamer for the most part of my life, playing Dota and Counter-Strike since junior high, competitive PvP in Guild Wars 2, and a lot more. But I just can't get into the Feast back then no matter how hard I tried. But Crystalline Conflict actually reignites my excitement for PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. I played a lot of CC games, but as I spent more time on it, the more I realized that this game mode actually has a lot of underlying issues that I can't stand in early days. How some jobs are way too overpowered in 5v5 situation, the inherited lag, and how clunky movement in Final Fantasy XIV combat for PvP. So naturally I stopped playing it back then. But these days I have tried it again and found different issues that I realized might be holding this game mode back from actually being a good competitive game, even though the devs have worked hard to improve it. The first big issue is being that I can't play ranked match with friends. This is a big ick for me. At first, I don't mind playing solo and pushing ranks alone to learn maps, jobs, or kill some time by myself. But ultimately, I want to be able to play with my friends. I completely understand the issue with matchmaking rating and leaderboard, where it's kinda unfair if you play with more skilled players and gain the same rating as them. So you kinda need solo rating in order to prove that it's actually your own skill that takes you to this rating. But you can do it like Dota, where you have separate rating for solo rank and party rank matches, or even like Guild Wars 2 where you can only duo queue, which I don't know if it's too difficult or not to do since I'm no game developer. But if they want this game mode to flourish, they really need to allow people to be able to play with their friends and teammates. You can't really hope for a scene to grow just from people playing solo. For example, have you been in this position where you're not doing anything on Sunday night and a friend suddenly pings you on Discord? Yo, log in right now, we need one more for Crystalline Conflict rank match. No, right? But it happens all the time in games like Dota, League, Counter-Strike, Marvel Rivals, Valorant, and every other competitive game. Because ranked matches brings more people to the game, even the ones who doesn't really play the game that often, just because they have friends that are actively playing it. The other thing is that the small teams are the ones actually growing the competitive scene. As better players shows up, more small teams are forming. The demand for a tournament will rise and create a healthy competitive scene, with a solid viewership where investors and advertisers can come in. The move that the developers did back in 2023 was a good one by enticing players with a decent prize pool with regional championship. But where do you expect them to practice for these kinds of tournaments? Only through custom match? How do they find other teams that are on the same level as them? Say if they find other teams that they know are going to the tournament, of course they can organize scrims with them prior to the event. But that only means only those specific amount of teams in that tournament are the ones getting better. That's where you really need a party rank match. The second issue for me is the restricted party communication. The restriction that I mean comes in two different forms in Crystalline Conflict. The first one is restricted chat, which only allows you to use built-in basic communication macros like go, fallback, my LB is ready, my LB is not ready, and stuff like that. But the second one is crucial, which is no built-in voice comms. The first one I can kinda let it slide, but this is a big no-no for a competitive game mode. You need to organize real-time, have certain callouts, who to focus and calls when you need heals, when to execute a certain movement, or maybe if you know the enemy has nothing that can counter your team's execution. There will be so much more depth to the ranked match if you have built-in voice comms. Yes, there might be some racial slurs thrown away, but you can't deny the high-quality callouts and organized movement that is only possible through voice comms in higher ranks like Diamond or Crystal. I understand where the developers is coming from, and I understand how competitive game modes typically will bring out some amount of toxicity. But you can't just fully restrict the communication in-game because it also kills the good that it brings. See, if you find issues in the match, normally you want to discuss it with your teammates and evaluate in real time. But how are we supposed to do that when we can't even type shit in the party chat? I'm much better off with some toxicity in-game rather than no communication at all, because it removes the quality that the game mode can bring. If you really want to restrict toxicity, it's just better to have some report system, which you already have, or mute buttons. But I understand that you might need more people screening through it because there will be a lot more reports. The third aspect that puts me off from Crystalline Conflict is the season system and rewards. I understand the season system, and I personally think the concept is great where after a certain period of time your matchmaking rating will reset so other people can catch up, but I honestly think the season system in Crystalline Conflict is way too short. Previously they made it absolutely ridiculous at 1 month per season. Now it's actually way better with 3 months per season. But I still think it's way too short and you need at least 4 to 6 months so people have time to grind and something to show. But the issue is, having too much seasons will ruin what people achieved previously. Issuing too much Final Conflict Framer, which is the rank 1 Framer kit, will make that item less scarce and less prestigious. But this is where I complain about the worst part of Crystalline Conflict, which is the rewards. Imagine if you grind solo rank every day and all you get after 3 months is a measly Adventurer Plate kit and 2 crystals for Weapon Glam. And those crystals are even for Diamond and above. What if you're just an average CC enjoyer that can only reach Platinum? You didn't even get that, only trophy crystals. And that's the main issue. Trophy crystals are easy to get. It came not only from Crystalline Conflict but also from Series Momstone, which you can easily get by doing your daily frontlines. Even though there's a lot of rewards that you can exchange for a trophy crystal, this is not enough for a game mode that you're trying to push competitively. You should have separate currency for the crystals for you to exchange another set of exclusive items, maybe mounts or minions. Even after only doing Series Momstone, I have an absolute abundance of trophy crystals that I don't know what to use for. So why should I even try to push my rank in CC? There's absolutely no incentive on it. Lastly, I think they should do what they did to Frontline by introducing it to more casual audience via the daily roulette. Give a great amount of EXP and weekly totems, you will for sure have more people trying it out and falling in love with the game mode. At least that's how I feel when I started to try doing Frontlines daily. It is surprisingly fun even though unbalanced in a lot of ways, which I think I will talk sometime later. So why can't you do the same for a game mode that you are trying to clearly push for a wider audience? I don't know. So that's about it for this video. What do you think about Crystalline Conflict? Do you enjoy it? Or do you think there's other reason why it hasn't gone the way the developers expected? Let me know in the comment section down below and I'll see you next time. Bye.